Word Balloon, celebrating 16 years of excellence for you.
We are controlling transmission. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. Thrill to the awe and mystery of the hidden world, the outer limits. You will journey into strange realms of science fiction. You will journey through uncharted galaxies from the inner mind of man to the outer limits. The outer limits. Every week on ABC.
The Incredible Hulk will not be presented this evening.
Welcome back. It's time again for another episode of To the Outer Limits. John Suntress here, Gabe Hardman here, Ian Brill here, Jeff Parker here. We're all here to discuss a sci-fi classic that was well adapted twice on the Outer Limits, both on the 60s version and the 90s version. And that's Eando Bender, Otto and his brothers.
It's really just Otto.
Is it really the brother didn't do much for iRobot?
I shouldn't say that, but it's mostly Otto.
It does seem like maybe the brother had more to do with that initial story than later or something, or at least that's what I read. But John, I have to stop you right here. It's not iRobot. It's iRobot, right?
Yeah,
like at every point in the episode, they say robot. So I feel like we gotta stick with it. You know, that's sort of canonical.
There you go. And Chikuro,
look, you don't want to know what's happening off frame. That's all I'm saying.
That's cool. Excellent, man. No, I'm really excited to talk tonight because it really is one of my favorite stories. Sometimes gets misrepresented by Isaac Asimov's collection of robot stories. Yeah. Oh, no, don't boo. I mean, because even Asimov admits Otto Bender was first. And he, did a series of robot. Let's continue to say robot for the night.
I'll only say robot, as you say. I'm sorry, I'm not the biggest Asimov fan, even though, truly a great last name.
Yeah. And the mutton chops. Yeah. Right. But apart from that,
the glasses. He had the 3 laws of robotics, which have nothing to do with the story.
Right. But characters, maybe not so much.
Humans, that was not his thing.
Yeah.
But I'm a super huge Otto Bender fan. He created most of the things in mainstream comics that I like. All of the incredible cast of Captain Marvel and Wiz comics, like Talkie Tawny and Mr. Mind, the little worm with a radio around his neck, and all the great stuff, all the fun stuff of Superman, like Brainiac and the Bottle City of Kandor. It's all Bender.
And Supergirl as well, right?
Supergirl, these are superheroes, absolutely. And tons of Superman mythos came from Otto Bender, no question. And
and my favorite thing. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, Bill Shelley did an amazing biography of Otto Binder a few
Yes.
years ago that's still out there from Fantagraphics, and people
Yeah, get that.
absolutely pick
And
it up.
the Phantom Zone, the best name ever for any concept. The guy, it sucks because every time I try to come up with a cool name, it's like, Bender already got to that. You know, it's one of those.
No question.
That's great.
And I've got Ian was great. Ian managed to get there we go. I guess I didn't know that Binder named Mary Marvel after his daughter, so that's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah, we can circle around to a sad fact later.
We've got lots of images from both the comic adaptation and the pulp story of
DC Comics.
Yeah. So, but on to the episode itself.
Yeah, as far as this episode goes. Ian Brill, what did you think of this episode?
I think they both benefit, and also there's some flaws to having it both of them being courtroom dramas. There is a kind of staidness, but also there's also a kind of a fun, I don't know, fun is the word, but like a philosophical aspect to the courtroom that to turning everything into not even like a trial. It's really just like a hearing before a trial can begin. And the best part in both episodes is that it really allows the actor who plays Cutler to really go. Howard Da Silva in the 64 version,
Henry.
and Nimoy returning, but now playing Cutler in the 1995 version. It's like those performances really make their respective episodes. It makes up for the fact that I have to say, in the 64 version, there's a lot of cool robots in the 60s. I don't think this was one of them.
Oh, you're definitely correct that this is not a cool robot. I think it's a terrible design. Like I really, but I'm not sure. I mean, the 90s one also looks terrible in just a different way.
Kind of cool.
No. Look,
I mean, my God,
this is because
you can see his eyes you can see the human's eyes there in the mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like he's wearing a jacket.
He looks like he's a duck man or something. Like he's the shape of his face is just like we had this. That's an intermediate design idea that they accidentally picked.
And I refuse.
I feel like the original is uncomfortable. The first one's more robot-like because it doesn't show muscles.
Right. Yeah. And
it was painful for the actor.
Right.
And that's what I want out of a robot.
Yeah, well, it's also held together by visible gaffer's tape, so that's a plus.
Yeah, and lots of expanding duct tape.
Yes, but I think that, I'm not a fan of that the thing though. Like I feel like there's maybe it's unfair, but I feel like there's a kind of distinctive Projects Unlimited look to a lot of the stuff from the Outer Limits that I think they built this as well, but it doesn't have that kind of unique look. I feel like this could be from anything, it doesn't feel like that particular Outer Limits type of look.
Would you rather it look like the old pulp cover paintings? Yeah,
with the little tiny legs and a box in the middle, right?
Yeah,
something like that. Those are probably more. This is my thing. Like this is what I would like.
Yeah, maybe.
He looks like
right there.
And C-3PO had a baby.
Yes.
Who in C-3PO had a baby?
R2-D2 and C-3PO had a baby.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Which, as we know, canonically they have had a baby. But I think that the thing that obviously the reason they couldn't do that is because of the practical effects aspect, the fact that you have to have a guy in the suit. That said, I would have loved it if he was a fucking marionette guy that they somehow comped in, and he looked, and he was very non-human looking. But none of this is really the issue. He can look dumb; it doesn't matter. The question is whether the story works or not. And I'm of the opinion that it's a good idea, and it maybe should work a little better than it does. I think that some of the ideas that we have in our head about what it's about about wrestling with these ideas of the mind-body disconnect and and things that are relatable, take a robot and make that something that you can relate to humans and questions of whatever morality, all that. I think those are a little bit more in our heads, and we're going in with that idea more than the episode is really making, good, thoughtful points with. I don't know. That's my feeling.
Yeah, fair.
I like it. I always, give these things allowances for the era in which they were created. I think it's an effective courtroom drama, and yeah, I agree with you, Gabe. I mean, I do think the ideas presented at the beginning to Howard De Silva's character and his own thoughts on it are much more high-minded than the actual execution of the courtroom scene. And things get simplistic. Again, it's that time. But yeah, I think.
I just want to speak to that. I think that reading the short story, or at least I didn't read the trial short story. I just read the first short story is basically just about him coming. It's for all first person, and it's from the robot's point of view. Oh, I want him to look like that, like in the that illustration right there. I love that.
Yeah,
nice
butt.
Yes, exactly. It's mostly about his butt. But I think that the in the short story, it's all from his point of view. It's a first person narrative from Adam Link's point of view, and I think that kind of is more sophisticated. Like it is kind of suggesting these ideas in ways that, and that's 1939. I don't think they have a huge excuse for not being able to take the ideas that were in the short stories and kind of and execute them a little better, except that, the guy who adapted it is a little hacky. But at the same time, I'm not saying the episode's bad. I think that it's, I think it's a fun episode, but I just don't think that it quite paid off what it's teeing up at the beginning, Well,
aren't they all essentially, they're trying to kind of get a little bit of Inherit the Wind.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. No question.
No question.
Yeah, the Scopes Monkey trial, but Spencer Tracy. But they only have so much time and they're working with the robot.
Well, that's what I love about this, that it is not only
I'm just a folksy lawyer. Yeah.
Well, it's Inherit the Wind. It's, of course, at the beginning, Frankenstein and
that I did not care for that. Yeah,
boy, I hate that little girl. That little girl is the worst.
Yeah.
Also, lying little. You're awful.
It's like also in the script for this, it's like she falls back, she falls in the water. It's dramatic, whatever, and they clearly blocked up a stream just enough that she could land in an inch of water.
She's sitting in it.
I mean, she did not need saving.
He broke my arm.
Well, it actually would be that's the more if you approached it he doesn't even understand that she doesn't need saving, then that would be a more interesting little conflict than she fell in 2 inches of water and then the robot's I gotta save her, I don't know.
Well, and again, as goofy as the robot looked, I think the voice was effective. It was neutral, but there was a hint of sentiment or real concern. Mm-hmm. And again, that's kind of why again, I love how it's evocative of Frankenstein and Inherit the Wind, and then of course later, and it always comes back to Star Trek, is so important to things like The Measure of a Man.
Yeah. Right,
the Next Generation episode with Data's trial.
I hate to say that about a second season Star Trek: The Next Generation episode, but it actually did a better job of talking about this stuff than this did.
Well, and writing and dialogue evolve. I mean, it gets it gets better and everything.
Yes and no, but 1939 had the short story in the first place is more thoughtful and certainly reads more contemporary than than this TV show does.
You're right about that.
From many years later. So
that's very true.
I don't know. I mean, I there's cool stuff in it. There is there's a lot of potential in it. It's fun. It's not the kind of slog that a lot of the other episodes from the second season.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Literally, this and Soldier and Demon with the Glass Hand, these are the exceptional second season episodes that merit examining the second season and saying, despite all the failings of it and lack of budget and lack of direction and caring that appears in the second season, this is one of the exceptions. We're no, they kind of nail it with this one, I think.
Yeah, but although I will say that I think that Obit from the first season, which is also a kind of a courtroom drama of sorts, is doing it on a different, like, this is just inherit the wind, put a robot in. You know, it's not. It's like, and I don't think that's it's leveling up into a weird area the way that Obit was.
I can't get enough of that still.
No shit with the robot just constantly
One
there.
of the things that I can't understand about it is his hair, right? Like, he's got this Wolverine hair thing going on in like that like I get completely distracted by that every time he's on camera. And then I think, so he went to court and thought, that's how I'm going to deliberately style my hair? You know, like earlier, it's just laying down. He's just goofy looking, right? He just looks disheveled. In court, he's like, no, I got to make it into little Wolverine points. And that's really going to impress the jury.
Well, the thing to get across with Cutler and both of them is he's had it with the legal system. Yes. He doesn't want any part of it, but he can't resist this case. And the cast in the 60s one is just great. I think they're terrific. I think the lead actress is really good. Nimoy's great in both.
Yes. Yeah. He's actually way better in the 90s one, I think. I mean, obviously he's a seasoned actor.
Well, he gets more to do,
and it's a meatier part, but yeah, Nimoy's always great. I love him.
He's a little miscast, or at least
he probably
based on our own experiences with Mr. Spock for 3 seasons. Retroactively looking at this performance, he's trying to be, Gene Kelly in Inherit the Wind, very cavalier. And kind of a cynic and a little bit of a wise ass. There's a great post of him being a wise ass. And I don't know if
I don't know if it's exactly miscast. I feel like I think it's fine. I think it's fine. I think it's also it just shows the speed that they went and how little care they were able to take with the performances and stuff. Because I mean, I think that he probably just could have, every bit of it feels like a first take. Just doesn't feel like anybody is able to kind of get into these parts at all.
Well, and despite De Silva's hair,
which is a big issue, it's a big important issue.
What a deal breaker!
Well, and isn't it interesting? And I don't know how much we've talked about it on the show, but certainly behind the scenes in our post-show off-the-air conversations, we've talked about De Silva and Shatner doing that series For the People.
Yeah,
and De Silva plays the senior district attorney, and Shatner works for him, and there's a synergy between this character and De Silva's character on that, where he is kind of more ambivalent in terms of, well, whatever, it's the system's the system. And actually this is almost like, even though it comes before For the People, De Silva's character is kind of fed up with the system, with humanity. That's why he's off fishing. And it takes I forget her name right now, and I'll look it up.
Maria Hill.
Maria, thank you.
Mean yeah.
God, I literally, ironically, I'm sorry, Ian, go ahead.
She has cool roles in both the 60s Star Trek and Batman. So she's these big like 60s actresses.
Yeah, she's in Dagger of the Mind, I think.
That's what it is.
Great episode, with Inspector Luger as the bad guy. James Gregory, with the mind ray that
also from Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Only good human is a dead human. Absolutely. But Marianne, she it's ironic. Literally this morning, MeTV has spawned a new channel, MeTV Plus, and I know that these are terrible compared to the originals. But I'm fascinated by the trajectory of the Andy Griffith Show from the classic Barney Fife to the color episodes to Mayberry RFD.
That's a whole other show, man.
Oh yeah,
I want to be on it if you do that, because I've got Andy Griffith opinions.
All right, well,
look
forward to our Mayberry podcast coming. Later
That's
this
going to
year.
be a long podcast. Like,
My God, you could literally go a year Monday through Friday and not reach a rerun of Andy Griffith, because it ran for 8 seasons if you include the color episodes. And but on Mayberry RFD, which Ken Berry obviously is the lead character in that, Marianne plays one of Irene Galanka. I love that name. Millie's girlfriends, who became a New York model, and she breaks up with somebody and comes back to Mayberry, and she kind of falls for Sam. And Millie is afraid that Sam is falling for her as well because she's this beautiful. I mean, still like, yeah, I mean, you can tell. And again, on all of her episodes, she's a lovely woman. And yeah, I mean, I think Eileen Galanka is pretty hot too. But yeah, it's like I can understand that if I were Sam, I'd be paying attention to Marianne a lot more than Galanka.
See, I didn't anticipate this particular digression.
Yeah, we got really lost in Mayberry RFD.
You'll forgive me, but it's very hard that I had happened to see her recently. But no, all right, back to the story. No, I mean, I think it's a very strong supporting cast. And again, I can get to their names, but like, you know, this guy's in a million things as the district attorney that's going up against Howard Da Silva, and I think quite effective in his role.
Well, John Hoyt.
He's pretty decent.
John Hoyt
is it?
Yeah. Actor. Yeah, he was in.
Yes, I've got a shot at John Hoyt, of course.
He was the alien in the Bolero Shield, and now he gets to be a guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where the hell is he? I thought I uploaded his picture. There. Oh no, where the hell is
So
he?
I guess he's probably our third Star Trek actor, right? Because he was in The Cage. So
Yeah.
Right, he's Dr. Boyce, the original doctor of the Enterprise, absolutely, with Captain Pike.
I like the way in both versions of this, the judge just rolls with the fact that, all right, we got a robot in here. Yeah.
Do you have to, like, are robots are somewhat more advanced or more common when this takes place? Because people are not as amazed.
They're not shocked by him.
Well,
I think that it's more that not being super thoughtful and critical in the screenwriting. Like, I mean, I think I don't think it's meant to be that robots are more common. I think there's a lot in this that, you know, when the gardener or whatever the fuck he is who comes in and finds the handyman guy, when he comes in, like, he walks in, goes, huh, that guy's dead over there underneath a robot, like, and then walks right over and stands next to him like nothing's gonna happen. And then it takes like minutes for to rub a couple brain cells together and figure out that, like, oh wait, I should be scared of this murderous robot, and then back away. Like, that's not even in the writing. That's just not thoughtful directing. You know, he should be coming in and reacting, and the dynamic should be the thing the whole time. It's not even really on the page. It's just not considered very well.
I would like to see how this would have played out if they had just rented the Robbie suit and let that be Adam Link.
I wish.
Yeah.
Everybody keeps trying to give him a sword of human eyes or whatever, and it's funny. Everything connected with the words "I, Robot" has a terrible looking robot. It's like, you know, the Will Smith movie obviously is the ugliest looking android.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was gonna. That's I was.
They're even worse than both of these combined.
I have no images from that horrible movie. I hate that movie with a passion.
So bad.
It is so insultingly stupid.
I never saw it. But yeah,
it infuriates me. And in fact, I did an episode of Prophets of Science Fiction on the Discovery Channel. And they really leaned on Asimov's collection of stories more so than Binder's story.
Well,
they had footage from the Will Smith movie, which really is kind of a bastardization of the Binder story more so.
Yeah.
But what do you?
Yeah, this is pretty much our I Am Legend.
Yes.
For science fiction, you're never going to get a version that's true to what the original thing was, but they'll keep remaking it.
Yeah.
With their own, because somebody's always got their own twist.
It's interesting that you mentioned the Robbie the Robot because it was, I'm assuming that was MGM property. This was.
Yeah.
I know Leslie
Stevens at this point, Robbie had turned up on Lost in Space. So
I think it was
the Twilight Zone a couple times.
Yeah, I think it's just a rentable prop that you know, somebody owned. Yeah,
and of course, because we always have to mention it, Columbo later.
Sure, of course.
Directed by Spielberg and starring, that great actor who played Cyrano. God damn it, I can't think of his name right now. Son of a bitch. Great 40s actor. He's the ironically in another courtroom movie, he's the defense attorney for the Kane Mutiny. Jose
Ferrer.
Jose Ferrer.
Thank you.
Jeez, God, I feel
yeah, Miguel Ferrer's dad.
Yeah, that's right. Miguel Ferrer's father. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's your reference. It's Miguel Ferrer's dad.
Yeah.
For people out there.
Absolutely.
He's brilliant. Not from Lawrence of Arabia, but because he's Miguel's dad.
Yeah. Well, look, we always talk about fucking comics, and Miguel Ferrer was a comic.
He does always come up.
Man.
He would have been a good voice for our Adam.
Yeah, and and then he played Albert Rosenfeld in Twin Peaks, who I modeled myself on. Like that character is incredibly important to me. So that's why I bring it up.
There you go, man.
Talking about the voice, I do feel like, well, I mean, I guess we'll get to the 90s one. I don't know if it's kind of hard to not talk about both of them, but
this is interesting that G. points out that I didn't know that Harlan Ellison had a script for iRobot that was supposed to be directed by Kirshner.
I was kind of counting on Brill to have read that.
I have seen it in bookstores, but I never read it.
Well. Also, look, I don't want to be that guy, but it's Irvin Kershner, not Irvin. Sorry.
Idiot is Irvin. No. Either Chikuro or someone else had said Howard La Silva as opposed to Da Silva. But you're right, Chikuro. The 90s one was indeed directed by Adam Nimoy, Leonard's son. And it's I only have the one image from the little money shot of him and the robot, but it's a fine adaptation.
I thought it was
fine, except for there's music blaring during parts of the courtroom scene, and I was like, why? Why is this happening?
Just awful 90s music bed sort of shit. Like I thought it was generally fairly effective. I thought, I think Leonard Nimoy is great. I think he's really good in it, and but I do think that there's, some of the things that they did to try to give it more twists and turns and make it, just ultimately made it a little bit more convoluted and a little bit less telling the story. I mean, where, approaching it that Adam really did kill him, but it was because he was, like some sort of protocols were turned off or something, and to try to make him into a military application. I just felt like that's like, it just feels like it's a kind of hat on a hat. It's a little too much. It doesn't need it as much as it would be better to just focus on the kind of moral and ethical quandary of it than giving this kind of built-in mechanical, pardon the pun, mechanical plot excuse. I don't know. That's how I felt about it.
It also seemed kind of weird to buy the fact that Adam and Dr. Link had this familiar relationship, and with who's essentially his sister, but then he's like, well, I got paid, so
I know
it's like,
it didn't ring true, especially since we don't really see their relationship any more than that, and it's not dealt with it's not like we have some revelation that would make it make sense that he would sell out that way. It didn't quite gel. But I thought Nimoy was great. I thought in a way the ending was a little bit better with saving the prosecutor,
right?
Because
she's the little. Wouldn't it be great if that was the little girl?
If the little girl was of the prosecutor, then that would have made a much more interesting episode. Yes,
but no, you get to say. I do appreciate. There's nothing worse than that accusing point. He broke my arm. But in the gap, the whole bearing down truck thing or whatever, and Nimoy yells and all that, and then Adam goes and gets busted up the same way. That was it was a fun callback. But then they did, even though I also don't like the military storyline, they do at least kind of blame it on the way they focus back on the military guy, like he's the reason the truck got put in motion and everything to destroy the robot.
Yeah, I didn't mind that. I thought
that was kind of good.
I think there was some stuff that was a little bit better about the way the 90s one worked, and then some stuff that kind of felt like, all right, you went it was a little too much. It's trying a little too hard. And
the daughter's not nearly as good.
The actress is very local hire feeling.
Yes,
you know,
that's
yeah,
the one thing
and-
about the 90s Outer Limits. You will, for me at least, I zero in on those Canadian day players,
Yes.
and they stand out like crazy.
Yes,
I hear you, man.
It's explicitly in America. It's in Washington D.C.
Yeah.
And so when people have Canadian accents, I'm going bananas.
Yeah,
It's a tug of war with Canadian science fiction, because I always appreciate how much science fiction is produced in Canada, and that they make the effort to really explore the genre. By the same token, no, it is a slightly lesser product in terms of, at least from an American perspective, of acting and production and everything, and just unfortunately leaning on what's the era. And I mean,
but I mean, there are loads of great Canadian actors. I mean, they shot, most of the X-Files series up in Canada, and that, and it's like, that's not my favorite show in the world, but it's a well-produced show with good actors and, a good cast, and like, it's not like, and not from that different of a time, right? It was about the same time. So I don't think it's really.
You notice they set the first one in St. Louis,
or outside St. Louis.
That whole Midwest vibe and everything, even though you get clear shots that that one, it's down, it's the LA. You think it's going to be Dragnet for a second, and then and then you get a shot of the mountains, and you go, well, stop showing LA if you want me to believe this is St. Louis. Please.
St. Louis, absolutely.
Right.
Well, and I mean, also that attitude, and that's why I agree with the guys in where robots aren't coming. It's old Doc Link. Oh, it's old Doc Link and everything, and his wacky adventures, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That kind of Midwest folksy, almost Mayberry-esque. Now, Doc Link. Yeah, you can't be doing that stuff. All right, I got to stop Doc Link from his robot stuff, I guess.
Well, that gets back to one of my favorite hallmarks of the series is the home lab.
Yeah,
I love when there's a home lab. I'm sorry, and it
not a great shot of the lab. But
look how cool she's being. She just flops down wherever.
Yep, good gams. Let me tell you, I'm a big fan. Can't help it.
Wow, that's pretty misogynist.
Thank you. I know. I'm very proud of that.
He was talking about Adam Link, though, right?
Yeah. Check out.
Exactly. I mean, look at him. They're impressive gams.
Man, I'll tell you, I'd like to see him in a Rockette chorus line, no question. I can't do high kicks.
I think that maybe some of the that we would have benefited in the 60s episode from maybe a little less flashback and a little bit more like content drama, even if it's
just
like
more crawling around on the floor like a baby.
Well, look, I'm never against a robot crawling around on the floor, but in this instance, I just felt like it.
That was a little disparding.
It was uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable.
But also, why did Dr. Link put the big heavy generator up on the wall? I don't know.
Yeah, so it could fall on his head.
It's a classic Three Stooges bit where you store the bowling balls on the top shelf. Why? Why would you do that?
Yeah, and but also,
robot, I guess.
Yeah, also there's a scene with the housekeeper who's in there and comes and sweeps around his feet, and then the foot moves, and then she basically just looks straight into camera for a comedy take that felt maybe not the greatest. Very Una O'Connor or something. Very a little much.
I love that both times they stick with the whole. Hey, let's see if we can make the robot go berserk here in the courtroom. Yeah, what could go wrong?
Like I watched this twice. The first time I watched it, I don't know, I got distracted a little bit right before that part, and I thought, oh shit, he just goes nuts at one point, and and they can't they can't deal with him and whatever, and I thought, oh, that's kind of an interesting development, and then I realized no, it was just this kind of. Like, it's so hard to go along with that kind of stuff where it's like making these ridiculously broad assumptions about, well, if you stuck a fork in his battery, would he go insane? Let's find out. I don't, that's such an absurd reach. And the fact that their premise is, oh, maybe he'll freak out, and then he does, is not great writing.
Agreed. No question. I'm looking at the cast, and let's see here. Mariana Hill, of course, Nina Link. Ford Rainey is the district attorney, and again, a very familiar face for a lot of things. And we mentioned John Hoyt. The other actors really don't. They're not memorable as far as other roles that I can.
Okay, but I do know a memorable thing about the guy who plays the like handyman.
Please,
who discovers him?
Because I don't have a clue, but please.
Well, apparently in the mid 2000s, after he had retired from acting and he's living up in Simi Valley, he got into an argument with a couple of a guy in a bar. Got super pissed off, drove his VW bus back home, got a gun, came back to the bar, shot the guy dead in the bar, and then another guy was in the bar as well, and he turned the gun on him, shot that guy too. That guy lived, but this actor is still doing time
in jail.
Yep. So
I got a picture.
That wasn't when Sal Mineo got killed, was it? Wait. No,
Sal Mineo got killed a lot earlier than 2005.
Wait, no. Yeah. What about the guy who played Alfalfa? Didn't he also get shot this way?
I think he got
Alfalfa guy was that was apparently a disagreement over a dog. This guy is just a fucking murderer who just went and he literally shot the guy in the back in the bar.
What a yokel!
This guy,
man, I hate this guy. I hate him worse than little girl now.
Yeah, I know. He's marginally worse than that little girl. Yeah.
I guess while we're on this subject, I should bring up this sad Otto Bender fact.
Please.
Because I could not think of it watching this, that there's a whole scene where a little girl's about to get run over by a truck and the robot stops it. The central thing that derailed Otto Bender's life and career was his daughter got ran over by a car.
Oh, no.
And actually not just in the street. The car literally jumped the curb. She was walking home from school and killed her. Oh. And obviously this just completely wrecked him. Yeah. And everything, and it's just such a weird thing that as I'm watching this, that's part of the story,
right?
It happens a few years before, that actually happened, and I feel like when there's a weird moment like that, I don't know, I have to point it out. It's
well, I mean, but was this part? I didn't read the trial short story. So, was that part of it?
No, I believe that was invented for the show.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Because there's a lot. Because Adam Link goes on to have many more inventions.
Private Eye
of amazing stories.
Yeah. Yes. And apparently he fights off an alien invasion at the end and has a wife called Eve or something. Yeah. And a whole thing.
Yeah, very
becomes a Private Eye. I think we skipped over that part.
Yeah.
Because that's what I like.
Yeah. If this honestly, if this show was about Adam Link, Private Eye, I think I would be more on board.
Hell yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Look, he's got a dog companion in this cover.
Well, that's the whole thing. In the original short story,
it's got everything.
In the original short story, the dog is a big part of it because, the dog, one of his first kind of conscious acts is the dog jumps on him and he grabs the dog. The dog squeals and he instantly lets go of the dog, because he's kind of learned this behavior from watching the doctor and learned but has a kind of instantaneous compassionate response about not hurting the dog. So which is kind of then there is a further scene in it with saving a little girl from a stream, so maybe they didn't need to do both of those things. But then the dog is kind of very loyal to him, and then the dog gets killed when he's on the run, and it's killed by the people who are chasing him.
Wait, so Adam Link is the original John Wick? is what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it
If
should have
I'm
gone
not
that.
reading that wrong.
It should have gone that way. Like if the following story was him tracking down and murdering the shit out of those people over the dog, I would be very enthusiastic about that.
What a great series. And you just reminded me, since you bring up the fact that he fights off an alien invasion, he's essentially a kind of forerunner of Colossus, the Forbin Project.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know who else is a big fan of that here in the Four Squares.
I can tell you, ironically, we mentioned Simi Valley, near where I grew up. That is filmed at Moorpark College, near Simi,
Yeah.
where I grew up. So, yeah.
That's great. I just saw Eric Braeden, his oral history interview with the Television Academy.
So I am watching that after
And
this.
talk about Colossus, and it was really great. It was really, really great.
Did they talk a lot about Planet of the Apes?
Oh yeah, absolutely, he
Of
does.
course he did.
And also, of course, the Rat Patrol, my favorite World War II.
Oh, right.
Such a terrible show.
Yes,
It's so awful. It
but
has
a Jeep with a machine gun. That's all you need. That was the big star, really.
It's always in the back of a Jeep going da 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 da. Yeah. You have to have Eric Braeden looking at the painting. Now we're looking at the painting of a painting, as he explains the concept of infinity to us in time and everything. But I guess this also gets us to another popular subject that occasionally comes up. James Cameron, apparently, when he cast Braden in Titanic, went up to him and nerded out on him, which Braden didn't realize what he was doing, because he says, like, his last little part that Dr. Forbin yells his defiant thing. And I think Eric Braeden didn't know what he was doing. But clearly Cameron loved the Forbin Project. And I mean, for people who don't know, Colossus is a supercomputer created by the United States that is to counter a supercomputer the Russians have created called Guardian. So a kind of Cold War is playing out between these computers of controlling things. Ours wins, but then ours decides we're also not capable of running the planet either, and just takes over the world. And so it's what Age of Ultron should have been. Sorry. And it goes on. They finally managed to shut Colossus down, but in another book, they find out aliens are coming to invade, and they have to turn Colossus back on because he's the only one who can possibly beat the aliens, and that is the kind of thing I love. So,
I thought the movie ends with Colossus not being able to be shut down, and that he does take over the world. I thought it had a more apocalyptic ending.
Oh yeah, in the movie he can't be shut down. He just wins.
Yeah. It's kind of Skynet, and it's Skynet
because it was 1970 or whatever.
Right. It was in the era of Soylent Green and Beneath the Planet of the Apes and all.
We had a good straight 4 or 5 years. We just lost everything.
Yes. Can you imagine going to the drive-in for these movies? Dana Gould has said that about Beneath the Planet of the Apes, and the world does just once there was a green planet that orbited an insignificant star. It's now dead. And then they play the credits with like no music, and it's like, all right, well, it's a great night at the movies, honey.
You're routinely watching Edward G. Robinson kill himself and stuff,
If you needed to explain the Vietnam War and like the effect it had on the American culture, I would just show the last 3 minutes of Beneath the Planet of the Apes. I'm like, that's from a G-rated movie.
Yes.
And there were movies after that.
Look, they didn't rate them for nihilism. So
True. Yeah, it should be rated N.
That's true. G. Coro points out that Robert Sorrells apparently died. On,
good.
And I had forgotten. You're right. He played Casey in the Mighty Casey Twilight Zone episode. The robot that was the baseball player.
I can't stand that episode. But yes, that's true.
It's got Jack Warden in it. Other than that,
it does have Jack
Warden's
Warden.
in a better robot episode of the Twilight Zone when they give him a robot wife.
Yes, the Lonely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jack
Right.
Warden's
That's
good Twilight Zone episode.
That's a much better episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. That has a lot of great, solid Jack Warden shit in it, and it's really good.
Absolutely.
It's robot, baseball, too many things. Like you can have a robot or you can have baseball. I'm not accepting both. Yeah.
Jack Warden didn't need Warren Beatty. He was great all by himself.
Oh yeah, he was always great. Always great. Yeah.
Yeah, every time the Twilight Zone tried to do comedy, it failed. There really isn't a good comedic Twilight Zone episode that I can think of.
No, that's correct. Yeah.
It's always one of those, the devil has signed you to a contract, but he missed something. And even though he's the devil, he's like, shit, you got me on this one because it's right here. He honors contracts. That's his thing.
Yeah.
But
all right.
So yeah, there you go. I think we've talked out all of iRobot, and it was again, I think a reasonable adaptation.
Yeah. Okay, but as a kid, do you remember watching it as a kid?
Yeah.
And were you sad when Adam got ran over?
Yes.
Yeah. Of course you were.
Well, again, I bought the whole sentiment, and no, you feel bad for this robot as much as you do when you get a little older with Frankenstein, the monster.
Or in Young Frankenstein, when he sits on the seesaw and the little girl goes flying up through the window.
I like the Libra.
It was such a great scene.
Libra wants to point out, I never laughed at poor Burgess Meredith's glasses at Time at Last. That's not fair. That's not fair.
Steve laughs at everybody with really thick Coke bottle glasses.
Exactly. You can relate. Absolutely, man.
That does bring up a point where I'm going through a lot of Twilight Zone episodes kind of to help going through the second season of Outer Limits. A lot of Twilight Zone episodes, the twist, they're like jokes, but they're taken seriously. Like To Serve Man, like that's a joke, but we take it seriously.
Yep.
Like
isn't that kind of what twists are at the end of short story? They're just it's the punchline, but you take it seriously, right? I mean, but not diminishing your point. That's definitely correct. Like you could just recast that as a comedy.
Why am I blanking on the giant that played To Serve Man's name? It's not Richard Kiel.
Ted Cassidy.
Or no, it is Richard Kiel. It's not Ted Cassidy. Ted Cassidy.
You're right. You're right.
It was Richard Kiel.
You're right.
Ted
Cassidy's in the Star Trek episode. Where
he's the Rock Protect.
Yes.
The old ones.
Yes. And he has the big stalactite. Yeah.
And he always
must have met at some point, right?
What's that?
Those two guys, they must have met at some point.
I'm hoping they fought.
Always fighting over the same roles.
I'm betting there was some professional rivalry there. Like I remember reading an interview with Michael Anderson, the little person from Twin Peaks, and him very bitterly talking about other little people getting roles when they didn't deserve them, and he should have gotten them. Like, so I think that they're just, you get in the business, you get like put in this box, and then there's these limited number of roles, and so obviously,
you're fighting with
Billy Barty's going to get most of them.
Yes.
Or the Lollipop Guild kid that survived, the Oz veteran that like Jerry, whatever his name was, to live forever.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I think that Michael Anderson maybe have some real serious problems, but
a good time, and when I say good time, I mean bad time. Take a deep dive on Michael Anderson's Facebook page.
Yeah, it's not good. He accuses a lot of people of murder. It's not a good thing. There's a reason he didn't come back.
That's the thing. I'm like a lot of people. Almost everybody came back for Twilight Zone: The Return. Michael Anderson, this iconic actor, did not. With all the innocence in the world, I Googled why is Michael Anderson not in Twin Peaks: The Return, and I got more than I bargained for.
Yeah, there's stuff that I don't even want to talk about why he says that. Why he was
real nuts.
Regarding another little person, Billy Barty, ironically, Ruta Lee, one of those old Hollywood starlets from the 50s and 60s, was just she has a new book out, a collection of Hollywood stories. And I just heard her on Gilbert Gottfried's podcast, and she went on about how we take Billy Barty for granted, and she did a production of Irma la Douce with Billy Barty, I'm assuming in the Jack Lemmon role, and how brilliant he was, and that he should have gotten more opportunities beyond just being a little person and running around and stuff. There you go.
All right, good.
And on that note,
Ruta Lee.
Exactly. Honestly, Great stories, very interesting stories. I want to buy. I must say, she's quite a storyteller, and it makes me want to buy the book. That and God, did you guys see Gabe Kaplan or hear Gabe Kaplan on?
I've listened to a little bit of it. I haven't finished it.
Quite good. Yeah. And I submitted a question to Gilbert's podcast for when they talked to Gabe. I don't know if they'll use it or not, but I was.
Well, what is it? Maybe we can answer it for you.
Well, I just wanted to learn more about his basketball movie, Fast Break.
Okay.
The 70s.
Yeah.
And also I really want them to go into detail of that amazing 50-yard dash he did with the Battle of the Network Stars with Robert
Conrad.
Right.
Because apparently there's and I'm a member of SAG. I guess it's in the SAG magazine that he wrote an essay about trying to make amends with Conrad, because Conrad really took the loss very personally.
He was pissed.
Yeah. And felt like he kind of suckered him into the race. And it's like,
that is honestly the most pitiful thing.
Like,
it's fantastic to watch.
But oh god, that's
it's so great though, because Kaplan just totally he starts out behind him and then he walks him down. It's beautiful.
And he's got that giant, afro of the 70s. Yeah. And it's like a comet with his afro's like a comet tail. Just when he's sprinting, it's fantastic. But also, just the whole lead up to it, where Conrad's like, they cheated, and we should have a race. And then Telly Savalas told, because it's all at CBS and NBC, or ABC and NBC, and all of a sudden, Telly Savalas, CBS's captain, in a warm up suit, smoking a cigarette. This is completely unfair. We should also be in this race, and it's so fantastic. Well, Telly Savalas. Obviously, throwing a little oil into the ointment with this question. Oh, cracking me. It's so good. You got to watch it, everybody.
Can I say one other thing about iRobot? It's something that that is not really valid enough to bring up, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Do it.
Leonard Nimoy in the original one talks about, like, he has this whole aside about a boxer that he saw, and he goes this sort of boxing digression, right? Well, in like every early thing I've seen, pre-Star Trek thing I've seen Leonard Nimoy in, it has something to do with boxing. Like, he's in a Stony Burke episode, he plays a boxer. He's in that movie, what's it called? Bang Bang Mulrooney or something. It's not that. It's it's like it's some kind of boxing movie as well, where he plays boxing. I feel like there's a weird connection between early Leonard Nimoy and boxing that always comes up. I have no idea why. I'm sure it's all a coincidence, but it's not. This is not a good observation about this episode, but I still brought it up because of the sports thing.
Well, and you got to realize, back in the 50s and 60s, boxing was a mainstay of television and very much in the zeitgeist as any of the four major sports. In fact, I would say more so than basketball as far as the four major sports. But yeah, boxing was on every week in the 50s and 60s.
Well, that gets you back to Rod Serling and Requiem for a Heavyweight.
Yeah, totally. And sorry, that movie was called Kid Monk Baroni.
I didn't find that movie.
Yeah.
And that Stony Burke episode, I'd like to watch that. I'm all for it. I'm all for Nimoy being a boxer. That's great.
Like, he does not seem like, he's obviously a boxer, right? Like, does Leonard Nimoy strike you as a boxer?
No, I was listening to one of the Trexperts commentaries on the Apple episode with David Goodman as the guest commentator, and they were discussing the fact that Nimoy doesn't have a strongman physique, and that he's more wiry than But again, if you go to the lower weight classes, I could see Leonard Nimoy as a middleweight, sure.
All right. Well, good. So I think that we've solved this, right? iRobot, Leonard Nimoy, middleweight.
No question.
Yeah.
The faces of Nimoy, everybody. There you go.
No, you'll enjoy these. Watch them.
Yeah.
So, all right. Next week we talk about the two-parter on the Outer Limits.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, we're going to talk about both parts of the Inheritors, next week on the show, and then I think that from there on out, it's probably we're just going to do double features for the rest of it. So I think we only have like 4 episodes left, and we're done.
Yeah, probably shitstorm after that. So yes, and we'll talk more about our next podcast endeavor, and if the boys here will.
Oh join. No! This is the end of my podcast career, as far as we know.
Okay.
You'll make sure it's the end. What he has planned for that last episode.
Look, I'm not. All I'm going to say is Liberty Valance. But go ahead.
Oh, that's right. That's how we end it.
But all right, no, we're spiraling out of control. We have to end the episode.
All right, fair enough. Join us again next time for To the Outer Limits when we talk about the two-parter Inheritors, which also features a Star Trek connection, but also Robert Duvall.
Yes,
There are a couple good things about this.
Fucking hell, yes,
absolutely.
Give me Robert Duvall.
Yeah.
All right, until next week, and we'll probably be back on our regular schedule of Thursday.
Yes,
we'll see.
I think so. Yes.
All right, no problem. All right, thanks everybody for watching. Have a good night. Take it easy. Bye bye.